YouTube, preparing the live stream meeting. And you could see we had a lot of issues. Some of it was 24 hours, some after 24 hours. They were saying something about you don't have enough subscribers. There were other issues that people had. But supposedly, we'll be able to get that to work. And again, we're using the servers of Zoom, and we're using the servers of YouTube. And since we're in Zoom right now and recording, when we go and record to YouTube, of course, we're going to have latency. And here it's talking about the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. That third party is YouTube. And I say, I got it. Oh, baby, I got it. Okay. Next, I want to make sure I'm going to record to my own computer. And I'm going to use MSN Recorder, and it's going to store it as an MP4 file. And I'm also recording to Loom, Loom, which is another recorder. So I have backup facilities. I'm not going to use my camera on that one. So I'm going to turn that off, no camera, and then I'm going to start the recording. And that's to another server that will do the recording. And it comes back and it gives me a note. I have a little ding here, and it says that it is starting to record. Okay, and we have everybody's camera set, right? Celia, we have everybody, we can see everybody's entire face. Some of you have interesting lighting, right? And Costa, I don't know where he is, but we see a background. Okay, so Brooke, how'd it go? Did you guys get the stream?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Okay, what was the issue?
It was the issue that like after you create an account, you have to wait 24 hours for in order to stream, but we were able to get it.
Great. And now what you want to do is be able to do this. So let me just go over that a tiny bit. And Dylan, any comments? I'm going to make a few.
No, none from me.
Okay, good. So Dylan has graciously being supportive here. And let me just tell you. Okay, and Costa's back. Okay, good. So we were waiting for you, Costa. Okay, so if I'm going to share my screen. And if I share my screen, of course, I'm trying to do some updates, closed captioning. Here's our course schedule, just to remind ourselves that on the exam is on March 6th, which you think is far away, right, Brooke? But it's already, that's 4 weeks, right? So we need to make sure everybody understands what's going on. So let's do this. Let me go to my, just for a short period. We know that we're recording live, right? And it's the fundamentals. And now what I want to do is quickly, I want to go to which, Brooke, where am I? What section?
The audit section?
The audit section, meaning that you have full rights, right? Besides the instructor. And if I go to groups and I look, and what group are you, Brooke?
6.
6. So if I go to group 6, one of the things that I want you to do in group 6 is you have an individual of key points. This is a Zoom host. You have more power and capabilities. then a guess, how to enable and create a poll, how to switch, your challenges. And then we have Jack. So let me just go to another group here. So what group are you in, Daniel?
Group 8.
So let
I
me go to,
left some comments on there because it's not quite finished.
okay. So this is called an audit area. Do you understand that, Jack? Meaning that you're as a group, and audit means, Jack, that you want to audit everyone in your group. Besides yourself, you have capabilities to audit everyone in your group. So I'm going to go to group 8 for the part. So what I'd like is everybody to follow this format. Do you see this, Brooke, where we have Zoom collaboration assignment? We have who's been attended. And then if they were able to live stream, and in this case, Brooke, it was, we were able to live stream on you, let's say your account, and it worked. And basically you audit, and here he puts, Taylor needs to remove password from Zoom link, ensure you link, Ray needs blah, 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 whatever it is. And then what I'd like you to do, if they need to do that, remove the password from the Zoom link, Danielle, you need to then meet with your group or somehow chat with your group to get that done.
Yeah, I'm doing
You know
that
what I
right
mean?
now.
But it's good that he has the first pass through, for instance. And in this case, if, for instance, there were many of you that had passwords there. And what did I say in this case, Brooke, is I don't want to have passwords in your recordings for anyone because it's just a lot more hassles for me to put it in, for you to put it in. So what does that mean? It probably means, Brooks, in the original Zoom settings, password is on. So what do you have to do is take it off as a group, take it off. And another area in which you have to do it, and this is the case, and maybe what I'll have you do is I'll stop sharing, for instance, and have Daniel share his screen under Zoom settings. So everybody can even go to the Miami, the zoom.miami.edu and look for your recordings. And go to your recordings. And all of you have some recordings, and what you can see, is that you have go and put it, if they have any of their recordings, go to share. Do you see that, Brooke? Go to share for any of your recordings, and it says share settings. And in the share settings, if passcode has been checked, uncheck it for that recording. Plus, go in your settings and make sure passcode is off. So you do not have to re-record your recordings just to get the password off. Just put in your new recording link, even keep your old recording link with password, and you can put in your new recording without password, and of lessons learned, put what the lessons were. How do you get rid of the passwords?
Is that clear for everyone, or
what?
Oh, is that clear for everyone? Because I was getting questions in the other class about this exact thing. So
okay, so you want to, Dylan and Daniel, want to look at the chat for today, just for a moment, and then we can kind of do it. And then you want to stop sharing your screen. So if I looked at my share screen and I went to audit and I went to groups, right? And if I went to any of these groups, then it would be the same thing that we have it here that we audited, right? And if I look at any of the Zoom exercises they have it under individual assignments. What I'd like right here is put then Nathan, basically Nathan's Zoom. This is Nathan's YouTube link and Nathan's individual assignments, and you have it. If you have anywhere where you have those recordings, just undo it and put in a new recording. So I just don't want people to, if I look at this case, in this case, I do not have Leisha and Sivan. Then in this case, you need to check and audited okay. I'm not sure if audited okay, if they've checked, first of all, they need to be able to Leisha and Sivan. Then if I go to collaboration exercises, right, I just have all of this empty here, right? And in this case, YouTube, they were talking about what are the issues with YouTube. And right here on group submission, what's the issue? Just take off the password. You see how the passcode is there? So whoever did the Zoom recording had that password off, and you can do it. This Zoom recording didn't, and this one didn't. So right here, just make another link and put that in of non-passcode. And notice what they said. Film before changing the settings will not let me change the password setting for my Zoom meeting. Who put this in? Whoever put it in, we know now how to do it. Okay? Questions on that? Leisha, do you have questions?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, so you know what you need to do?
Yeah.
So just, it's not, and work as a group, meet again as a group, and just make those additions and watch each other's. I've opened up some of your videos, and just even, you can even play it for a few minutes, Dylan, and you can hear that somebody doesn't have audio, right? Or they've gone through it and they haven't shared their screen. Give some basic, you see that, Leisha? Give some basic feedback to your group on what's available, and then you can get the maximum, one, you can get the maximum number of points, and two, that you can learn. That's my major thing, that it's not a big deal. When somebody says it's password protected, you could tell them already, Leisha, what? Go to your recordings and share and take off the passcode, and take that link and put that link up. Nothing's, no big shakes once we know it. Any other questions? Okay, so let's go to let's do some housekeeping here, make sure that we're sharing and we can do that. And if you need to, Daniel and Dylan, if there needs to be anything that's being told to everyone, let me know, we can do that. So I have them, my other one of my Zoom meetings, and if I look at what's due, I know that we extended the Zoom collaboration due date has been moved to February 5th. So what I would like you to do is make sure that everything that you're up to date of making sure that you've audited all the links. So I'll allow you to have time until the 7th for the Wednesday before class to make sure that everything is perfect. Then we can start grading your exercises. Okay? The next thing that we have is this Wednesday, we have TG2A, which is software, and chapter, and the adaptive assignment is due this Wednesday. Now, when we were recording, not everything was able to record using Zoom. So we need to get other recorders for Zoom. So a week from today, which is Monday, February 12th, I have a second exercise due for you. One is called a screencasting assignment. And that screencasting assignment is that everyone in your group choose a different recorder, and you can Googled it and looked for something free that records the screen either via the cloud or via on your computer or on premise. And you can see that here is the PowerPoint to it, and here is the screencasting. You will also see it under assignments and quizzes. You can see it under exercises, and under there you see that you have a screencasting exercise. What do I want? The objectives of the screencasting is that each person in your group choose a screencasting program and understand how to use it, discussing the advantages and disadvantages, discussing what operating system does it work on, record using the screencasting program individually. And once you have figured that out and you save it and you upload it, you'll meet together using Zoom in the cloud without a password, and each person in the group will discuss their Zoom, their screencasting program, the pros and cons. The reason for that is that once one program works, you'll all be familiar with many different ones. Individually, you'll choose a different screencasting program and record less than 5 minutes discussing the pros and cons. You'll upload it as a link or a file or both, depending on whether it's in the cloud or as a file. And you'll put it as an item in your audit area called your screencasting folder, which you will describe individually: your full name, the screencasting program name, the operating system, the advantages and disadvantages. And as a group, without a password, you'll take a short period and describe it as well and put in the group. So if I look at the H audit, this is due next Monday. Under groups, and let me take Dylan, you will have a Zoom group individual assignment. It should look just like this. And then you should have a screencasting folder. So you'll make as a group, you'll know the difference right now between folder and item. This is a folder where you'll put everyone in your group and what everyone picks out. So you'll meet in some fashion that makes sure that everybody chooses a different recorder. You can take any of these, you can search, and you have QuickTime, Loom, Vimeo, but you can use any one. And then if I go into the screencasting folder, you can see, for instance, put a date. Excellent, Dylan. Everybody put a date, because guess what? If Brooke, we make changes, we can have a new date to see when was that done. A date, the name, individually, use QuickTime, and then what operating system, all of this. You can follow this as a template, and then you have this group screen recording exercise, and you follow this as a template. As items. Questions? Alejandro, you have a question about that?
No.
So let's summarize, Alejandro. What do you have to do for the screencasting?
You have to put the date of when you do it.
And basically everybody in your group has to meet together to figure out what everybody's going to choose. Not everybody's going to choose QuickTime, right? Each one will choose. And why? So you can learn about other tools out there. And then you'll meet together. You'll do it on your own, recording on your own. And what I would do is I would use the actual screencasting program that you used, right, Alejandro? So the good idea is if you're using for QuickTime, use QuickTime, or you're using Loom, or you're using MSN Recorder, or you're using whatever, record it in its native way, and then you'll do a Zoom recording that. And then when we're having problems like recording, and you'll talk about why is it good for another screencasting program? Because a lot of times some things on the screen, remember, Ike, you weren't able to capture using Zoom. Zoom doesn't record everything of itself. So can you use Zoom in another screencasting program? Yes. So you can have one record on top of the other. And now, since you have that first part, and if it by mistake, if all of you make sure that all of you just shut down in the Zoom your passcode. And if by mistake you have it, I just go to your recordings and share that new link. No big shakes. Any questions? And when is that due, Alejandro?
I do not remember.
Okay, look it up on what's due. A week from today. So it shouldn't be a big deal, right? Now that you know how to do it. What was difficult for the first assignment was more getting that YouTube live to stream. That's where we had kind of like, that was the bottleneck for everybody, right? That we had. Okay. Any questions? Anything that I need, Dylan or Daniel, anything that I need to know? Okay.
I just had one clarification question.
Yes.
So Dylan used Zoom, I think, to record him talking about QuickTime. Are we
Yeah.
allowed to use, like, say I used OBS to
Right,
record
but
myself?
preferably you want to, and he put a note there, he was having
Okay.
problems uploading wasn't that the issue, Dylan?
Oh yeah, the file
Yeah,
was
the
too
file
large.
size was too big, so it wouldn't be uploaded on Blackboard.
Yeah, well, the other thing you could do is you could compress it into
Mhm.
Blackboard, but yeah, so make it short, make it, you can even compress, you can even contact Blackboard and ask them, how do you compress a file so I can upload it to, compress it and upload it to Blackboard. Good point, Daniel. You preferably want to do it, and you can do it short, nothing more
Yeah,
than
that's
5
what I had
minutes.
done. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, do it in the original, because that's the whole purpose. Because if
Mhm.
you don't do it, then you won't be able to see the advantages of it. Excellent. So we can even go one more. Whitney, for the individual Zoom, does each group member need to submit their own Zoom stream?
I meant to say YouTube live stream. Like
For
every person needs
which
to,
one? For the screencasting or for
the one right before this, because I think my group only did one YouTube
Yeah,
live
try
stream.
to get it. At least we got that, Whitney.
But
Then
do we need to do it again? And every person
well,
needs
just
to
do it
get
again. You can
YouTube?
try to do it on your own. You don't have to do it again as a group, but try to do it on your own. And then if you have problems, document where you're having problems. That's all. I don't control Google. I don't control YouTube. So Whitney, if some people weren't able to do it, at least document via Zoom individually. This is where I got stuck.
But
And
I
maybe you
can't,
can-
I don't think I can't do a YouTube live stream of it though if I'm like by myself, because I can't show the breakout rooms if I'm the only person in the
So write that
Zoom.
down.
Okay.
Write that down. And what could you use? That's beautiful. It's like, Whitney, we rehearsed it. I can't use Zoom to record the breakouts. So what you could use, Whitney, in your second assignment, when you present your screencasting, when you break out into show in your second assignment, when you meet as a group, use your screencasting program to record what's happening in the Zoom in the breakout rooms.
Okay.
Perfect, right? Because that's where you're having an issue. Wouldn't it be important for me to know what's happening in the group conversation? Wouldn't it be important for you to know what's happening in the breakout rooms? You were the group leader, Whitney, and you had like 5 breakout rooms. Right now, you can't record in Zoom in those breakout rooms. So you could even have each group, once you go into a breakout room, you could even tell the group, now use your screencasting to record it. Excellent. It's like we rehearsed it, Whitney. So I want your homeworks to be reflective of where we're having problems. That's why I gave Zoom first and then the screencasting. And then make sure when you put up a link, Whitney, put some notes there of what you described, because later on I won't know. And guess what? You'll probably not even remember, right? Next, in another 2 weeks, what did you do in there? What did anyone do in there? And then you say, oh, I figured out how to do polls. You can watch my recording.
So it's
Doc,
fine if I do my individual group exercise in a Zoom by myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
for the first part. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we want. And then Whitney, you then audit everyone else in your group and help everyone else do theirs. And when they get stuck, describe it. Sometimes getting stuck is more valuable than actually doing it, because then somebody else can say, hey, this is how I did it. I used a screencasting program to overcome that, or I had to wait 24 hours. We got to basically, you see, we're rolling with the punches. And what I want from you, Whitney, is that you get self-confidence and skills to be able to do that. It's really, what's your major, Whitney?
Entrepreneurship.
Perfect, right? That's where, when you're all creating, right, you're going to have all those teams. It's even more important, those creations. And where do those creations kind of come up with is if you had a group of 40 around the world, break them down into teams, and then you want it recorded. And then you're stuck. I don't know how to do that. Zoom doesn't allow me. It's not that you don't know how. And maybe later on, guess what? Zoom is changing. All these software programs, Whitney, are changing every day. And maybe Zoom will, the next version, somebody will come up and say, hey, you know, now you can do, there's another feature. Do I want to record in breakout rooms? But we all have it differently. Okay, excellent. Anything else? So extra credit, Whitney, for class participation and thinking about basically struggling, how do I get this done? Excellent. Okay, next. Anything else? Daniel, anything else that? Perfect. So let me share my screen again. So let's talk about, let me go my regular one. So everybody knows for next week. And also, I'm giving you time to update your Zoom. So I'm giving you till Wednesday to make all those corrections. Make sure everybody in your group has recorded. And then you can even start doing your screencasting exercise. You may even want to, you can combine 1 and 2 together, right? Once you got the Zoom going, you can meet and do the other ones. Okay. Now, on my Zoom, also I have on my documents, as I said before, is I have my PowerPoints, and you can see here, you have your PowerPoints that can help you here. We've done chapter 1. We've gotten the quiz from chapter 1, and then on Wednesday, we have chapter 2. And let me just go over a bit of what we need to do for chapter 1. So what I need here is to think about hardware and when I'm, let me make this. When I have my hardware, I have areas that we need to figure out. What are hardware issues? Hardware is always changing. Hardware is always hopefully improving. Hardware is getting faster. I get more bang for my buck. We'll talk about computer hierarchy, and then we'll talk about the central processing unit. You can use these slides if you'd like. And one of the things you have the slides is you have notes in the slides here of the central processing unit, which is basically what a lot of times they call the brains of the computer, where I have my components. I have something called primary storage that many times when they use the word primary storage here, they are talking many times about memory, and secondary storage. Many times they're talking about, you can think about drives. They talk about how to input information, how to output information, how to do the computing capabilities. And they have something managing mobile devices, managing a hybrid network. We'll talk about that. Basically, we're doing our clouds as well. And what I want to emphasize today is the idea of this area right here. For the test as well, and for the quizzes on what we mean by a microprocessor, a control unit, an arithmetic logic unit, how a CPU works, and the computer memory. So basically, what I like to do is this diagram right here. So if I look at this diagram of this, I have input going up here. I have output and communication devices. And then I have primary storage. And if you look at this, Ashton, and primary storage, a lot of times they call that main memory. And I have arrows going up, back and forth. So my question to you, and then I have something called secondary storage that goes two ways, and then I have communication devices. So for this class then, Liat, we need to differentiate between what is the difference between primary storage or main memory and secondary storage. And the second question is who cares? So Ike, do you have an idea of what's the difference between primary storage and secondary storage?
So wait, primary is for like things that are going to be used like right away, correct? That are like smaller, than secondary is kind of the larger things, which will.
Okay, great. We rehearsed this, right? Ike, so let's think about it. Let's say we want to do Excel or even PowerPoint. Okay, I have a PowerPoint here. We're all familiar with PowerPoint. This PowerPoint, for instance, resides on Blackboard. You can download that PowerPoint to your computer, right? When you download Blackboard, in Blackboard, you download that PowerPoint. Where does it go first? To secondary storage or to primary storage? When you download it, Ike?
Primary first.
First, it's going to go to secondary storage. It's going to go to your hard drive, let's say. That's called secondary storage. You download it and it goes to your like downloads directory. That's secondary storage, which they call. And that, a lot of times they call it is, a lot of times that it stores that for long periods of time. Now, we got to understand this. Whenever you want to see the PowerPoint, right? You go to that file and you click on it, or you go to PowerPoint and you load that file to use it. It gets stored where, Ike?
In the primary.
Primary and main memory. A lot of times you'll hear the word RAM. Have you ever heard of that, Ike?
Yeah.
How much RAM you have in your computer? It stands for random access memory. That's how it works. That's why it's important. And sometimes the RAM, that's going to be temporary. That's going to be volatile, meaning that if I lose electricity, I may lose that in my RAM, but I'm not, if it was stored on my secondary storage and I lose electricity, it's going to remain. That primary storage, so you can put a note there, and everyone else can, if this is new to you, that anytime you use a file, like in Word or in Excel or in PowerPoint, I'm just using it because we're using it now. Whenever you're going to run that program or open that file, it's going to be stored in primary storage, or what they call main memory, or what they call RAM. And it's quick. The storage part, and that's why it's almost stored here, it's primary. When I make changes to this slides and I save as, and I save it either to the cloud, my OneDrive, or I save it to my hard disk, that gets saved in secondary storage. And the next time I use it, or you use it, have you ever heard, let's bring up that file? It's basically, what does that mean? Let's bring up that file. It means let's use that program. It means basically the operating system will take that secondary storage and store it in primary. And when you close down your computer, then everything in RAM gets erased. That's why everybody tells you better save your work. Sometimes it gets saved, that if you made any addition, sometimes it's automatically saved to your primary or your OneDrive or whatever storage device you have. So this is the key. Does that help? So what we need to know for the next class is we have to ask, how much RAM do you have in your machine? Everybody hear that? Liat, did you hear me? How much RAM do you have in your machine? And how much secondary storage do you have in your machine? And the question is, why do I care? Is that later on we're going to be doing, what's your major, Ike?
Finance.
Finance. We're going to be doing some financial forecasting. And do you think we need a lot of RAM to do that? If it's complicated, right, we do. So the more RAM we have, the better it is. Sometimes, have you ever seen when they're running computers, running a program, it may be very slow. Or what it will do, if there's not enough storage, it'll take out parts of it and bring it back, go back and forth. That takes time. So when we're going to be doing some more fintech kind of problems, you'll be able to tell your group, hey, we need to upgrade. We need to increase it in RAM. So a lot of times when we're doing types of things like that, we want to buy as much RAM as possible. Later on, we could use other computers, right, in the cloud, and we could allocate and say how much RAM we want to use to do allocations in the cloud, and let some of these services do the calculations for us. Does that make sense? So this, everybody needs to know then, if I were going to ask that, is that would need to be done. So that's that part. This is called RAM. This is called secondary storage. And then I have within here, I have something called the arithmetic logic unit. And what do you think that's going to do, Dylan? Hirsch? Arithmetic logic. Do you think it's going to do arithmetic? Yes. Do you think it's logic? What is logic? Is one number greater than the other? Is one number equal to another? Is one number less than another? That's logic. So basically, that's where the arithmetic gets done. The logic, this is where the sorting, this is where it is. And then I have other pluses in them with registers and others. We're not going to worry about that too much, but where it's going to be stored, that it will make this, these are places where for short-term memory, maybe addresses are stored and others. But for us, this is going to be the key. Questions? Ashton, okay? The difference between, so once I look at that microprocessor, basically notice they're talking about main memory, primary storage. What's another word for that? RAM. That's the memory in my computer where the software is running. So if I have an Excel spreadsheet, Ashton, what's your major?
It is marketing.
marketing. So if I had all my customers there that we wanted to do a campaign about, that's going to be running in my main memory or RAM. And then they basically show you that it's going to basically then fetch it, decode it, do some arithmetic operations, and then come back to the primary memory. There's something called Moore's Law that basically, that's almost getting outdated, that where we're getting the miniature, basically of being able to, where technology is going and doubling in time. And basically, we're going to quantum computing, and then we have here of computer memory, primary storage and secondary storage. You can see in the slides, there's also ways where they talk about, if I go to my memory here and I talk about the memory here, they talk about my memory capacities of my hierarchies, the lowest being my bits of zeros and ones, to my primary storage. And notice under my primary storage is the data that's going to be processed by the CPU. It basically, my operating system, whether it's Mac OS, whether it's Android, whether it's iOS, whether it's Windows, whether it's Linux, my operating system manages the various aspects of my primary storage. And then you can even go into more detail where they talk about cache memory. A lot of times you have things that are available in cache for high speed that stores data that's used very often. And this is the key that you need. Random access memory is RAM. This is where your programs reside when you're starting to use them. You also have part of that primary storage is called ROM, which is random only memory that is basically set up by the hardware manufacturer, and there's a few instructions there that are always going to remain in that read-only memory. But what you're really concerned on a day-to-day basis is that RAM. And then you have the secondary storage, and you can have tertiary storage of where you have storage for your large amounts of data. And of course, it's not even gigabytes, it's going to be, terabytes and petabytes as we go along. It's getting to be cheaper and cheaper to store these. We can have these. I can even set this up in my Google Drive, in my Apple. Many times they're allowed to do it for my information. So this is the hierarchy. It basically is the computers can read zeros and ones. Later on in quantum computing, Daniel, what happens in quantum computing? Do you have an idea what happens to those bits?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure.
Basically, we're always thinking about everything is like a 0 and 1 in traditional computing.
Yeah.
So in this case, Ike, if I see your name, for the I, right? A byte is a character. So basically it could be 8 bits, meaning 8 zeros and ones, different combination, make up an I, make up a K. The computer only understands those zeros and ones. And later on, there's
binary.
a new type of things with quantum computing. Is you see how we got zeros and one? It's so fast that it's not going to be exactly 0 and it's not going to be a 1. It's going to be near a 0. It's almost going to be like a continuum. And it's almost going to be 3D. It's almost like physics. So where you would have to kind of sort the entire list, it can kind of take that entire chunk and absorb it. What I'm concerned about in the quantum computing is it really can start doing artificial intelligence really well. It can start really doing my genome, looking at personalized medicine well. But also what I'm concerned about, how everybody said use a 16, Daniel, use a 16-digit password. Who can remember?
Oh yeah, it can crack those codes probably.
They can, where it would take, days and weeks or years. In quantum computing, they can do it,
But it takes so much resources. It's not viable.
It's the very, very beginning. You know what I mean? And they're kind of doing it in research. We're not having it now, but what we are having in terms of artificial intelligence, we have what we call cluster computing. And when we're having this cluster computing, we're having parallel CPUs work together to solve one problem. And we're having something called GPU. Do you have an idea what that is, Daniel?
The graphics processor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's more GPU focused AI as opposed to
Yes,
CPU.
it is.
Yeah.
It's more GPU, and that's kind of like the gaming industry started giving it to us, right? Those machines.
Yeah,
Be able
but
to
more
do what-
specifically VRAM.
Yeah, and so there's different parts of memory can be able to use that. So this is the case where we have then we can go for capacity, right? And your key here is what? Memory is getting cheaper. The whole idea, Ike, is what? Memory is getting less expensive and I'm going to have more data, right? And usually now what I'm going to be able to do is when I'm going to be doing any of that AI or generative AI or machine learning, what am I going to need is more and more memory. And even my single, what do you have now? What kind of laptop do you have? What brand? Ike.
I have a Apple.
Yeah, I
Mac.
have an Apple, right? So the idea here for the next class, Ike, and for everyone else is I want you to know then, answer that question then, basically, how much, in this case, PC, if I have a Mac or PC or even a Linux, is how to tell how much primary storage or RAM and secondary storage one has. And you say, I don't know, guess what? Look it up. You can go to Google, you can go to ChatGPT and say, I have a Mac. How do I tell how much RAM I have, how much secondary storage I have? And figure it out. And why are we doing that? Because later on, you'll have a feeling that all of a sudden, when we're going to be doing our assignments in FinTech, you say, you know, maybe I should go to the lab. I don't know. Maybe the lab has more RAM than I have to be able to do the assignment or to be able to do it quicker. And guess what? If we were really doing high frequency trading where I blink my eyes and we were trading millions of shares, Ike, we'd probably not even use our computers. We'd be using other, large computers or even computers in other places to do our computing. But you would want to maybe use your computer to even basically audit what's happening with your algorithm, what's happening with your trades. And for the fact, and sometimes if we're just doing for simulation, it's good enough what we have. Or it may be we're just kind of trying out our ideas. It may be good enough what we have. Or we're only going to be trading once a day or every 3 days. And we want to set up our algorithms. So this is what I want for Wednesdays, everybody to figure out on and I'll ask you then, Dylan, is how much primary storage or RAM do you have on your machine, on your computer, and how much secondary storage? And what will be larger then? Liat, what will be larger, my primary storage or my secondary storage? My secondary storage.
secondary.
Right. My hard, right, it'll be in terabytes maybe, or in gigabytes, right? That it will be larger because I'm storing it. But I want to maximize, right? My RAM is I want to maximize it. So if you confuse those, and people in everyday language, it says how much memory do you have, and they got confused. And the way they put it here is it's basically how much I have and what's the difference and where I'm storing it. Okay. So this is where I have at this point, and this is the key. So my primary storage, AK, another word for it is my main memory. And these are the two that I need. A lot of times cache memory, a lot of times is if I'm typing something, you see Google, it's almost sometimes you see some things in cache that remains there that quickly comes up, but is that random access memory. This is called, it is volatile. So when I put it next to it, I say, this is volatile. That means what? when I shut down my computer, that data, Ashton, goes where? It goes away, right? And then in this case, Malik, in read-only memory, is that volatile or non-volatile? It's what we call non-volatile,
Yeah.
and that means it remains. And where does that come from? That comes from the manufacturer. What resides here? Adam, in here usually resides the programs that I'm using. So if I'm using right now PowerPoint and this slides, that's what's in my RAM right now. And sometimes, have you ever opened up that? Can I open up more than one program at a time, Adam? Of course I can. And have you seen a lot of times when I open up so many programs at the same time, it slows down my processing. So the more RAM that I have, the better I am able to do that. And then they talk about that's primary storage. That's where I'm using it to be able to do any of my calculations. That's why I have my registry there in cache that I'm not even aware of, but this is where my software goes in. And at this point, what I have then is I have secondary storage where I can have SSDs, I can have optical, I can have my thumb drives, where I have all mine. And of course, we know that the cost and the size increases, and the cost in everything is reducing in cost, but this is more expensive than my secondary storage per gigabytes. And then they give you just examples of what this looks like, old technology, and that's it. So what do you think, Daniel, what the class should know about hardware, since you were, Daniel, working basically as basically being the technician, right? What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think the class would need to know about hardware?
I would say the first thing, I mean, most people here have Macs,
Right.
and they obviously break very easily, but especially the newer Macs, you can't get the data off of the computer at all if it has a hardware damage and it affects specifically the circuitry for your memory. It's soldered on the board. So if you have anything of any importance, which should be everything on your laptop, back it up. Like,
And back it
please,
up to
because
where?
I've to the cloud
To
or
the
to an
cloud.
off like an external drive, or if you have like I doubt you have a NAS. But I've seen hundreds of laptops with the exact same problems that are completely unavoidable, and people end up spending, thousands of dollars trying to get their data back, and a lot of times it's not successful. So back stuff up, especially on your phone too.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah. And you only do it, and most people, like anything else, do it when they get a problem. You know what I
No,
mean?
exactly, yeah.
And that's why it's important. And that's why also in our audit area, right, Ike, is that idea that that's going to be vulnerable, everything there. So for sure, you want to, all your links, everything that you have, you want to back it up somewhere else, because even by accident, you could lose all that.
Yeah,
So
and then the other thing is, if you
yeah.
do decide to back up your files, don't necessarily use a mainstream platform like a Google Drive, or uh maybe Microsoft has a backup option, but do some research into the privacy policies of each service. Because especially if you don't have control of that data, you're kind of held by whatever decisions they
And where
decide.
do you back it up?
Yeah, so I personally have my own server, so
Okay,
I
but
don't have to
right,
trust
right. You
anybody else.
can give
But
out services then.
no, no.
That's a
But
trick.
a good one
Right.
is mega.io. They've been pretty good for privacy. So
Yeah. It depends on what data I have, but I'm just even
Mhm.
talking about our homeworks and things that we
Oh
don't have to
yeah,
worry
that's
about. You know
different.
what
But
I
if
mean?
you have like
That's
your
different, but I'm
passwords or
just,
your
yeah,
financials or
passwords
something.
or financial, data and information that we'll have. And
Mhm.
then we'll have also, I've invited the head of our security at the university to give us kind of like the do's and don'ts, and we can kind of see what they have on it.
Yeah, yeah,
But-
don't reuse passwords. Like, that's the biggest
Yeah,
thing.
right. And then we can do it. Okay, so those are basically the issues for that. And on Wednesday, we'll go over also, this Wednesday, we have the software chapter that is due.
Mhm.
And we'll go over it as well. And after we do the screencasting, then I will be going into some of the fintech programs, and we'll try it out using it on premise, using it on computers, and also going through it through the cloud. And then being able to research that, and then that area, hopefully, maybe the servers that we're using, we'll see whether it'll be powerful enough for us to use.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I did have another question.
Yes,
Are you going to post the quiz and the adaptive assignment today or on Wednesday for next week?
it's not there?
Like the new one.
You mean of chapter 2?
I think we did chapter 2 for this week, right?
It's for Wednesday.
Yeah, for Wednesday, but the one for next Wednesday.
Oh, I'll do it on Wednesday.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Remind me, I'll do it on, stay with me, okay? And we'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me stop sharing. What else? So stay with me on that. So everybody understand what I need to do. So the first thing I would do is I just go back to your last Zoom exercise and help everybody in the class, in your group, get up to date on that and then describe it. And then also you can start for and then do the screencasting. Have everyone, you can even meet, maybe do both of those together. Ike, do the Zoom and then make an assignment for each person. They pick a program that is different from each other and do the recordings, and then you'll meet back. So maybe what it can be is even between now and Wednesday, everybody in your group could even at least pick a program. And then you can go through and we always have problems. And the beauty here is you can meet on Zoom, plus you'll use your recordings within Zoom to try to record some of the issues that you had. For instance, in this case, Whitney, the breakout rooms, right? You can show that as part of the class. And you can use then, Daniel, what group are you in? Is it, again?
Group 8.
Group 8, you can look at Daniel. Daniel's already done that first part. His entire group didn't, but he's already done he used OBS for his, and he created the individual one, and then he just has to get with the group, and then they record with Zoom and also with their screencasting programs. Okay, stay with me if you have extra questions. I need to do attendance. And especially, let me just do, let me go to attendance. Do check-in. Start check-in. Everybody knows the key. We got a number 5454. Once you check in, you're free to go. If you want to ask me any questions, issues, I'll be happy to answer anything you have. Otherwise, I'll see everybody on Wednesday and looking forward to it and answering any questions you have.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stay with me if you have additional issues that you want to discuss. And if you, Daniel and Dylan, can stay with me.
Yep.
And we'll see where we go from here. Okay.
I have a question about the
Sure.
Zoom assignment.
Mhm.
So I did the individual YouTube live stream, but
Great.
I never uploaded the actual link to my YouTube live stream and I deleted it. Do you want me to redo it?
Well, did you record it? How you did
Yeah,
it?
I recorded it on my cloud and I submitted that. Just not like I don't have a link to go to the YouTube page.
You know what I would do just real quick, just so we know that works, Kaylee? Just do another quick one.
Okay.
Because you were able to do it, right? It didn't have any issue, right?
Yeah, I was able to do it. Yep.
Yeah, so it'd take a minute, just do a minute of just showing and recording how you do that you're doing YouTube live and just say did you have problems in the beginning?
The only problem I had was in the group because I didn't realize that only hosts could do YouTube live stream.
Okay, so you can just mention that because that's important, right?
Yep. And
That's
then
real important.
yeah, if it's unlisted, can you still see it? Or do I
If
have
you
to make it
you have to
public?
do the list, you just do the link.
Okay.
It's unlisted, meaning that people out in YouTube won't find it, but you can share your link. Just copy the YouTube link that you see in the browser, right?
Yep.
And put it up on in our section. And
Thank-
then and you know what? That's an excellent recording to do.
Thank you so much.
You know what I mean? Show that and then even ask, how do you do? Can you share with unlisted? I don't want to make it public. Can you share? What's the difference between, public, private, on those? So that's even excellent. I do that part and then you can teach a group that too. You know what I mean? Share it. Keep
Yeah.
up the good work, Haley. And then every time you learn something, you want to document it because it's like now you know it, but then, 10 minutes ago you had no idea and so many other people have no idea.
Yeah.
Store it, you know what I mean, that you can share. And then it becomes valuable for you too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Keep up the good work.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Ciao. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to close all my recordings to YouTube.